Inari Con, an anime that effortlessly surfaces your forgotten, hazy memories of your first love from when you were younger. Whether or not those feelings will return is irrelevant now because I now have my kawaii anime Lolliamoto waifus. Hashtag. All joking aside, Inari Con was a profoundly beautiful series, revolving around the adorably innocent crush that our main character Inari has on her classmate Tanbabashi, and with just a pinch of supernatural so it doesn't end up becoming just another generic romantic comedy. The experience of watching the supernatural concepts merge with the realistic and charming cast of characters was highly appealing, and so delightful that you feel like you're being engaged with genuine emotion. Some of the characters could have used a bit more development, but that may be asking for a bit much since it was only 10 episodes. They were all still extremely likable at the least, but just somewhat forgettable. Inari Con started off weakly, but it became much more solid as it progressed through the enchanting love story, and it ended up refining into a pleasant, lighthearted romance that pierces your unsuspecting heart with warmth, managing to form an absolutely cheerful story of love that utilizes the emotion of happiness with ease. World conquest is a feat that many believe to be impossible, but has it ever been attempted by a cast of bizarre outsiders led by a lolly? I think not, and well, that mostly sums up the plot of World Conquest's Zvezda plot. This absurd plot isn't really what makes Zvezda brilliant, though. The perpetrator of its brilliance is its colorful cast of characters who all have fun personalities that are varied. Every single one of them is unforgettable and so enthralling. Like, who doesn't like Kate? She's one of the most cutest, adorable lollies I've ever seen. And she makes this Oni-chan's heart go doki doki. And as it should, the deranged story doesn't take itself seriously, and you shouldn't either. It's portrayed in a silly manner because it wants to captivate you with how outrageous everything about it truly is. It never takes a break and goes berserk with how amazingly ridiculous it can be, pushing invisible boundaries you didn't even realize were there. I really love this show. It's just so glorious in every aspect. But in the end, it became irrelevant to me whether or not they accomplished their goal of taking over the world, because they, without a doubt, conquered my heart with their crazy antics. May the light of Zvezda shine throughout the world. Space Dandy, the show that goes wherever it wants to go, whenever it wants to go, and I applaud it for being unique, but alas, I didn't like it that much. So go ahead and yell at me for giving it a low ranking. People have different tastes and like different things. Space Dandy was episodic, and that was its major flaw. Some episodes were great, most were silly fun, and then some were so boring that I could barely keep my eyes open. Focusing on a space adventurer of sorts named Dandy, you follow him and his companions throughout the vast universe as they have all types of zany adventures that range from capturing a rare alien species to just trying to pick up some chicks. As I said before, Space Dandy varied greatly from episode to episode. This outcome happened because multiple directors directed different episodes, resulting in a very inconsistent show. But that inconsistency was, surprisingly, Space Dandy's greatest strength, but at the same time, its biggest flaw in my opinion. The delivery of every new episode felt new and fresh, like you were watching a different show with every episode. It was original, it was imaginative, but it kind of loses its impact after a few episodes. The humor is creative, but it's in your face so constantly throughout that the wackiness just becomes almost overwhelming. Describing what Space Dandy is a very difficult thing to do. But if Space Dandy was one thing, it was different, and I wholeheartedly appreciate that, I really do. All in all, Space Dandy just didn't make me feel all that dandy. Relationships in anime tend to not develop very far, usually, but Sakura Trick blows away that fact with fast-paced relationship development. It's very alluring, but relationships developing too quickly normally produces boring characters you could care less about without anything to take away from it. But Sakura Trick really does convey lighthearted messages of how important friendship and bonds are when it comes to being in a relationship. Fucking 10 out of 10. Oh my god, where is it? Have you seen my... Oh shit, I didn't mean to do... Oh god, fuck. Where's my Dakimakura? Where's my lolly? Where's my tissues? Mom, have you seen my emoto? But seriously, did I forget to mention that it's Yuri? Sakura Trick went all out with it and didn't slowly tease you with undertones. It melted my heart away with how cute the innocent interactions between all the girls were. The characters were all unique and quirky in their own ways, and I absolutely loved them all. Sakura Trick was exactly what I wanted from a Yuri anime and more. Defrag has exactly one purpose: comedy. Make the viewer laugh as much as possible, which it does exceptionally well. Defrag's slapstick humor that pushes the boundaries of realistic as far as they can possibly go is truly delightful. They constantly parody other popular shows with witty dialogue and cameos. The comedy has such variation that I'd say it's just about hit with everyone. Revolving around the high school delinquent Kenji in the game development club, which he was forced to join by the 4 strange girls of the club, and, well, that's it, really. It's just solely a comedy anime with not much plot, because it doesn't need much of a story. It's a comedy through and through. And man does it do it well. It transforms the most boring and mundane activities into a hysterical situation that'll always have you bursting out laughing. Defrag was just immensely enjoyable. It extracted fun from everything and everybody, creating a splendid comedy anime full of entertainment. Don't you just hate it when two witch guilds at war ruin your normal everyday life by fighting over some hidden power within you that you didn't even know was there? Well, hey, at least you got a cute bodyguard, right? Wait, huh? That hasn't happened to you before? I mean, oh, I'm probably just thinking of the plot of Witchcraft Works again. Which that actually sums it up pretty well. Sounds kind of generic to an extent, but it's definitely got its good points that could also be considered bad depending on how you look at it. The story's constantly on the move, and it's sometimes difficult to keep up with. This absurdly fast pacing did result in the show being an absolute blast, though. Despite the ridiculous characters, the disjointed plot that never allowed you to catch your breath, its insane logic behind how events unfolded, it was utterly enchanting. It forcibly drags you through its exceedingly flashy, unbelievable story of magic, and you find yourself unable to fight back against its will since you're undoubtedly loving every second of its overblown tale that can't be described by any other word than insane, but lovably insane. And that is what Witchcraft Works is. Ah, Chunibyo. I absolutely loved Chunibyo. I was utterly ecstatic at the announcement of a second season, but through my happiness, there was doubt lingering in the back of my mind. Those doubts came to fruition as I watched the episodes weekly and realized, this second season is completely unnecessary, isn't it? Which it more or less was, to my disappointment. I expected this sequel to go into depth and explore the cute, innocent relationship between Rika and Yuta that had been set up nearly to perfection in the first season, but then they introduced another girl into the equation to create a meaningless love triangle that you already know the ending to. I guess I should talk about the premise of the show, which is a story that revolves around Yuta attempting to escape his past life as a Chunibyo, or 8th grade syndrome, which is when someone pretends to possess superpowers or just being a different persona of yourself in general, which this unique concept made for some of my favorite comedy and anime ever, which they really focused on more in this season as well, but for some reason, that fell flat in comparison to the first season as well. It still managed to be heartwarming and fun, but the drama felt weakly forced. If this sequel did anything right though, it was just getting to see the characters that I love again. Did I mention the characters? They're all so great and bounce off each other with ease, developing amazing character interactions that bring a grin to your face. But overall, as a reviewer, I wish this sequel had never happened. But as a fan, banishment this world. It's ended. It's gone, just like that. After demanding my love and admiration and me complying wholeheartedly, it just vanished. Engaged to the Unidentified was easily my personal favorite of the winter season. It revolved around Kobeni suddenly being forced to live with her fiancé, whom she did not even know existed until being thrown into the midst of the ridiculous situations that him and his eccentric Amoto inevitably unleash wherever they go, sparking the emergence of yet another amazing romantic comedy. Now, what are romantic comedies without their twist, right? The twist to Engage to the Unidentified is that of the supernatural and meant to be a mystery to the viewer for the first part of the show. Although an obvious mystery, I'll refrain from spoiling it and talk about the other best part of the show, the characters. The characters, the characters, the characters. Engage to the Unidentified makes you feel involved with all the lovable characters, as though you're there having fun with them during their idiotic antics. The cast carries this show and is the prime reason you should watch it. Watching the cute, innocent characters that I grew so attached to flourish and grow closer and closer to one another throughout the series made me feel all fluffy inside, and I'm gonna sincerely miss watching them every week. And if this didn't convince you to watch it, just take my word for it. Nisekoi, the anime that I was anticipating the most from this winter season, and sure enough, it didn't disappoint me in the least. Set up where our main lead, Raku, was searching for the holder of a key that can unlock a locket he received when he was younger from a girl, the locket and key symbolizing their promise to marry when they grow up and meet again, but not being able to remember her face, we follow his priceless dilemma of finding the real childhood friend that he made the promise with. Admittedly cliché, but being cliché isn't always a bad thing. Although those generic tropes of an anime rom-com were there, it deviated away enough from the expected clichés that it felt refreshing and new, as if they were brought into a new light. Or maybe I'm just being completely biased because I've been looking forward to the anime adaptation of Nisekoi for those 100 plus chapters of manga. And now, that may be 100% true, but Nisekoi deserves it as it's just so positively charming. It oozes of charm that utterly enthralls you with its captivating cast of ravishing characters. Nisekoi just radiates with magnificent charisma that few shows can even hope of emulating. I acknowledge that Nisekoi has many apparent faults, but I'm still easily enchanted by it despite those imperfections. Nothing's perfect, Nisekoi's flawed, but at least it's flawed in an extremely likable way. Noragami, the anime that really has it all. An interesting premise, engaging relatable characters, beautifully animated action scenes, and even a sprinkle of great comedy to truly give you variety while stylishly blending everything perfectly into a coherent story. Following around Hiyuri after she has a fateful encounter with the minor god Yato, who has outlandish dreams of becoming a deity that people actually worship, their unfortunate fates become intertwined and their unconventional escapades continue from there, as they tackle the unusual calamities that abruptly befall them in this unusual supernatural world far beyond the boundaries set by reality. I might be making it seem too plot-focused, but Noragami is a completely character-driven show that constructs its plot based on the characters' past and interactions with one another. Fabricating the entire base of its story based on its characters caused Noragami to be paced slowly as it gradually refined its characters so that the viewer would become bound to them by an invisible chain constructed by the feelings you endured with them during their engrossing stories. Every character played a role and wasn't meaningless. You feel connected with them in terms of their feelings and goals. You simply become gripped by the shackles that are the characters. It's very rare that an anime relies solely on the characters as the gears to turn the mechanism that powers its story, and even more uncommon that it works flawlessly to the point of making me depressed that it's ended, such as Noragami sadly has. Hey guys, Glenn here, and if you want to watch most of the anime I talked about and more, Crunchyroll is the best place to do it. There's a 2-week free trial down below in the description if you want to do that, and also, maybe go like me on Facebook if you want to chat with me sometime or something. This has been Glenn, and as always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.